Hello, this is Silver Pride 2021. I'm Stephen Webb. With me today is Lee Cooper, documentary maker and also a friend of mine.
Hi everyone, I'm really excited to be here as part of Silver Pride. Before me and Stephen get into a bit of chit chat, here is a little sneak peek of the trailer of my film.
It's still slipping, but never mind.
Oh, I took it in yesterday.
I know you do, and I've lost weight with all this hassle I've had.
Well, perhaps you got it up too high.
Oh yeah, that'll do. New friends are silver, but old friends are gold. Put the wig in upside down. What?
Hi David, I'm Walter, and I'm in the Guinness World Record book as the oldest performing drag queen in the world.
Ta-da!
And I understand you are the oldest drag queen working in the UK.
David Raven and Walter met this afternoon over high tea.
I don't do alcohol.
Well, it's not alcohol. It's something called
Champagne.
or something.
It's something called champagne.
Not champagne, dear.
This isn't just a show. This is part of our history and it will become part of our heritage.
Don't spill it. You're not going to look like that. That's too much. I should look like your great-grandmother. In vile mood now I am.
This isn't an American dress, you know.
Yes, I can tell.
One yank and it's off.
Unless it slips out, I never use a swear word. What am I going to do about this finger? Get them to break it and see if they can set it? I mean, look at that deformed thing.
I think I'll start drinking.
If I never sing another song,
Wait.
it wouldn't bother me.
Oh my goodness me.
I've had my share, yes, my share of pain. You know my name. But if I never sang another song or took another bow, I would get bummed, but I'm not sure.
There we are. Your public awaits you, Mr. Trollette.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. David Raven, MAISIE Trollette.
So my first question is, how did you become aware of MAISIE and what made you decide to make a film about her?
So, as you know, we love a drag queen, don't we? And we love a drag show in Brighton. So I've always been a big fan of drag in all its different forms. And someone, go back a step, had my midlife, as you do, and decided to go to film school. And as part of the course, one of the things we had to do was documentary. And it was somebody who actually introduced me to David on the scene and just said, look, you've got to meet this guy. You're making a documentary. He is absolutely amazing. And of course, when he said who it was, I knew, like everybody does in Brighton, I knew who MAISIE Trollette was. So yes, it was just a bit of a fortuitous sort of thing, really, that someone introduced me. And then, have you met him?
I've never met him, no. I watched him at Legend.
Right. Yeah. I mean, he's absolutely fascinating because he's been doing it for over 50 years. So, the stories, you think you and I have got stories you can tell. He has just got so many incredible stories. He's been in Palm Springs with Shirley Bassey. He was, getting up to all sorts of mischief on the meat counter at Selfridges, pun intended, but back, many moons ago.
You know what? That all comes out in the film as well. And it's like, I'm going to be 50 next week, and I completely connected with his story. Everyone, all the famous people of that time, like Diana Dawes and Dora Bryan, these were women that I grew up laughing at.
Yeah, exactly. And he's worked with all of them. over the years. So I just thought, he was a fascinating person to spend time with. And he was just really, really generous. You've seen the film?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Did you like it?
Well done, Lee.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I had a little tear, 17 minutes. I had to check how long it took me to cry, but yeah, 17 minutes.
Well, at least you did. Yeah, he was really brave on camera.
How did you persuade him to do it? Because he's quite formidable, isn't he?
He's really formidable, and to this day, he's really formidable. He's got a lot of experience, but also, he loves the camera. Like all the big drag queens and all the panto dames and, all the pageant queens, they love the camera. So it was surprisingly easy, really. And then when it came to the more sort of intimate moments, and I literally did get access to all areas, as you've seen, like quite literally. He was just a bit like, do you know what? When we were filming it, he's actually 88 in August, but when we were filming him, he was 84. So, this has been 4 years in the making. And he was just a bit like, do you know what? I'm 84, going on 85, kind of didn't give a monkeys. Do you know what I mean? He just let it all hang out. And interestingly, so did the other drag queen as well from America, because obviously Darcel's in the film, who's in the Guinness World Records for being the oldest performing drag queen in the world. Can you believe it? I think he's 90 this year and still performing, which is absolutely mental. Again, he was the same as you see in the film, backstage in the dressing rooms. When I say he lets it all hang out, he literally lets it all hang out, doesn't he? And we were very, very careful to, say, look, are you okay with this? You're aware the camera's here. We're in these tiny little dressing rooms. You know what the dressing room's like backstage, at these venues. It's not some glamorous dressing room. It's the broom cupboard,
The electric cupboard. You see it in the film.
Or the electric, like literally the electric cupboard. So, there was a full team. There was me, there was the sound guy, there was the camera guy, all squeezed into the room with David. So he was absolutely aware that we were there, but he was just really brave. And like us, he thought it was just, an important part of the process and an important part of the story to tell. So yeah, he just, it's quite intimate and it's quite raw sometimes what we see on camera.
It was very intimate, and at times, as a viewer, I thought that I was being allowed to into this person's life and all the nitty gritty. And sometimes what my question was, how was that for you? How was that making the film for you when you're at these points where he's getting things or
it's I mean, we filmed in his house, which, as you know, for someone who lives in Brighton, properties are not huge. So, we're filming in his house, we were filming in his kitchen, we were filming in the dressing room areas. So it was always quite a squeeze, quite often when we were interviewing and when we were following David around. So I think we were really, really conscious that we were there in his home. And sometimes, it was a little bit like, almost like, should we look away almost? But I think
that's
it's
what
important.
It felt like watching it. It's like, I'm going to put the kettle on at this part.
Yeah, exactly.
I was glued to it.
Yeah. But
so what was your favourite part of the film, making of the film? What was your favourite?
Favourite part making the film? I just think being allowed to have that much time with David. He's absolutely hilarious. Do you know what I mean? He's so funny. I mean, this is the guy at, 84 would say, "Oh, would you go and get me a newspaper, love?" Because he's really, really big on the horses. He adores doing the horses of a Saturday. He's massive on the horses. And he said, "Oh, will you go and get the paper for me? Go and get the paper for me." So literally, I went to the corner shop, came back, and his flat is like the lower ground flat. And I came back, and literally he'd been hiding under the stairs in a broom cupboard for about 25 minutes, waiting for me to come back. And literally, as I walked past this doorway to knock on the front door, he just jumped out like this. I was like, yeah, like this at me. And it scared the living daylights out of me.
God, he really committed to that, didn't he?
It's just hilarious, you know. So it was a real privilege, to be honest, spending that time with him.
So on the flip side of that, then, what was the worst part?
The worst part, I think first-time filmmaker. You know, this was my first feature film, so just learning, you know, things on the fly. I think as a documentary, we were, you know, we had this incredible access, and quite often we'd spend ages setting up the cameras, setting up the microphones, setting everything up, setting up the lighting, ready to start filming. And actually, some of the best bits, I think, of the film, and some of the more interesting moments with David and with Dave Lynn and with Miss Jason, was the asides. It was the things they said and did when the camera wasn't, well, the camera was rolling and they were aware it was rolling, but when it wasn't a massive setup. So, you know, when we opened the film, David is pottering around the garden, and he's just hilarious. He's just absolutely hilarious. And I think knowing, so I think if I knew it, so that for me was like just the learning on the job. Like if I did it again, I wouldn't spend so long setting everything up and, you know, trying to get the sound right and everything. I would have spent more time, I suppose, just listening to him and to, you know, and to the people in the film. But that was just part of the learning process. But there were very few downsides working with David. I mean, you know, he can have a bit of a temper on him sometimes. As you say, it's formidable. I think a few times in the film, you know, if you call him a drag queen like you did, FYI, so you're in for the chop.
Yeah, drag artiste.
Yeah, drag artiste. You know, and David is very, very, very particular about that because, you know, a queen. If someone called you an old queen, you know, back in the day, it would have been a real insult.
Yeah.
So, you know, he doesn't even like the word, you know, the phrase drag queen. You know, he's quite against it. I think in a little bit of it is a little bit ego with him as well. You know, he's you know, as an artiste, he's elevating himself above the other drag queens, you know, on the scene in the industry. So, but yeah, you would certainly cop for it if you called him a drag queen to his face. The other big no is you must never ever call him MAISIE when David is not in drag.
Yeah, I see. He says that in the film, doesn't he? As goes in about that.
Yeah, he's definitely really, really funny about that.
The film, it's kind of comes across as a getting old kind of story.
Yeah.
And more importantly, getting old in the LGBT plus community. Yeah. And that was something that really resonated with me because you know, a lot of us choose our family or our friends. How we get older and how, you know, we may not have a big circle around us as we were when we were younger. So did you intend to do that, or was that something that just happened as you were filming?
I sort of, when I went into it, I thought it was going to be the life of David Raven, the fabulous MAISIE Trollette, and even, you know, following the Trollettes. You know, a lot of people of a certain age will remember the Trollettes from the Two Brewers and the Black Cap and the Carpenter's Arms in London. And I thought it was going to be the life of. Sadly, as we know, partly because it was so underground, you know, and some people might think, you know, it was better when it was underground back in the day. But the flip side of that, and, you know, as David says in the film, you know, it's also illegal. It was, can you bear it? Can you imagine it being illegal to be gay, as it is in other countries still to this day? So there's not many records of what went on then. There's very little film, there's very little footage, all these incredible gigs that he used to do. There was no camera phones, there was no, there's no record of our community's history. So it's just really hard to make that film, and David is 84. He's getting on a bit. Well, when I was filming him, he was 84. He's 88 now, in August. So it was difficult as well interviewing him sometimes, because a bit like you and me in this interview, we lose our train of thought. You know what I mean?
We're getting there.
I'm 50 next year. You know what it's like. So it's really hard to do, the life of, when there's so very little film footage, so few people around. David talks a lot about he's got no family, he's lost, all his peers his age, they're just sadly no longer with us anymore. So then I had to sort of rethink it. So for me, it was very much, this is a story of David and it is his life story. And then it became quite apparent that I couldn't do that. And then it naturally became a story about aging and old age, because as you know, my day job is a fashion art director, and I spend a lot of time looking at the image and being fascinated with the detail. And when I saw David applying his makeup with a Brillo pad, or when he spits in the makeup, which is how it's done.
Laughing. Absolutely roared.
Yeah, so when he's spitting in his makeup and using a Brillo pad, I thought that is the story, And this is an old Brillo pad. This is not a new Brillo pad every time.
When I watched the trailer, I laughed out loud, I don't know how many times. And I just thought, before I sat down and watched it, I thought this is just going to be a laugh a minute. I didn't realise that it was going to bring up so many other topics and issues, like aging, HIV. I think there's a lot of, as a filmmaker, there's a lot of coming out stories. There's Love, Simon, there's Moonlight, there's Call Me by Your Name. There's just all these incredible coming out stories. Always featuring hot boys and hot girls. Not that I have a problem with hot boys and hot girls, but it's always coming out. But there's very few aging stories. There's a great film out at the moment about a gay couple, and the partner is suffering from dementia, I think, and that's quite out there. There's not much of that about, and yet if you're fortunate enough, we'll all get old. That's if we're lucky. We'll all get old, won't we? So whether you're LGBTQI plus or other, one guarantee is we're all going to get old, and it's harder for our community. There's a lot of people who could talk with more authority than I can, but a lot of people who have had to go back into the closet because they've gone into a care home and the carers are quite homophobic. I mean, I heard about that the other day. It blew my mind. But when you think about it, you're like, oh my goodness, can you imagine? Or people whose partners, passed on, and now they're literally the only gay in the village, but not in a good way, So I think it's really important that we get to see these stories. And I never planned to make a film about aging and about that experience, but it just naturally went that way. David is fascinating as he is talented, and as much as I loved exploring him singing, and he's still got an amazing set of pipes on him, hasn't he? Really has.
He's amazing. He's amazing, and he's still funny. Yeah. He's still really, really funny. Yeah. But he is also in his, mid-80s, and it gets tougher putting on those stilettos and getting up on the stage, and that's what hopefully the film explores.
Oh God, it totally does, and just shows you how difficult he finds that, even to put the high shoes on and the struggle, and yet he's still prepared to do it. And
I think, Miss Jason, because there's a wonderful supporting cast, isn't there? Miss Jason is in there, Dave Lynn is there, and obviously Alan Cardew. Alan Cardew is theatre producer, but also a long-time friend of David's, and he supports David because David's still performing. He was at the Curzon only the other week, so David's still at it, and he's got this network of people around him. So he's really, really fortunate. He's one of the lucky ones because he's got the Brighton cabaret community supporting and looking after him. So even though, it's sad, the film, in many ways, it's also really, really, I hope, uplifting and inspiring. It's like that Cher thing, when I think Cher tweeted from the O2 when she was doing like the big tour, and I think she said something like, "What's your grandma doing tonight?" Which I thought was absolutely amazing. And it's the same with David. What's your granddad doing tonight? Which just really tickles me.
It's great. So my final question is, what would you like the audience to take away from the film?
I think that, one, I hope they just have a really good laugh. I hope they really enjoy the performances in it. There's that great moment when they're all rehearsing for Lady is a Tramp, which is really funny. Really? Obviously David sings One, which I think we might get to see a bit later. And he ends with that massive Shirley Bassey showstopper, If I Never Sing Another Song. And it's just, oh my goodness. Yeah. Even I made it and I still watch it, and
I had goosebumps at that.
He sings it so well, and the lyrics are just so poignant. But for him to be singing at 80, celebrating his 85th birthday, is even more, more dramatic and more poignant. So I hope they have a laugh. I hope they enjoy it, and I hope that people who within our community or others, because I think it does transcend the LGBTQI plus community, because everyone ages. I just hope that people think twice next time they see that little old man or that little old woman who might be hobbling down the street with a cane, and just show them a bit more respect. Because I just don't think we're really good at it in the UK, are we?
Let's look out.
We just
one another.
We're just not really good at it. I think we're really poor at supporting and looking after our elders, particularly in the UK, I think. And I hope this film shines a light on somebody and just says, think twice. When you see him running down the St James's Street with his cane to get to the bookies in time, you actually think, oh my goodness, this guy was on stage in Palm Springs with Shirley Bassey 20, 30 years ago, or whatever the case may be. What's your favourite bit? What did you like?
Just his humour, really. I love that. I don't like swearing. I never swear in my act. And then, like 2 minutes later, he's effing and blinded. I just love. When he was asked to say some words at his birthday, that was fun. He's short and sweet.
He's. I mean, no one's probably going to make a film about my life story. Do you know what I mean? So he's done something right, and he's still got his amazing fans, and he's still entertaining people.
I mean, I hate the thought of getting old. I hate it, but
too late.
It's happening. Too late. Too late. It's already happened. But that film did make me think. As long as you stay in contact with your friends, you go out, keep doing what you're doing, and you know.
Yeah, yeah, and I think Miss Jason says that in the film, doesn't he? He says, you know, he says something along the lines of, you know, what's amazing is the thing that that David has spent his whole life cultivating and keeping alive, Maisie, that it's actually now Maisie that to some degree is keeping David going.
Yeah.
You know, and long may it continue. Long may it continue. I'm very excited to give everybody at home a sneak peek of the film. We've got an exclusive 10-minute clip, and it starts off with Miss Jason, the fabulous Dave Lynn, and of course our Maisie backstage getting ready for one of their dinner shows called Three of a Kind. And David's feeling a little rough after his late night the night before. I hope you enjoy it.
How are you feeling? You.
What's got to do with you?
He says, were you in Brighton this weekend? I said, yes, with David and Maisie tomorrow.
Oh, with David
Jason
and Maisie?
sorry.
Have I got a dress on?
I don't know, John, have you? Not from where I'm standing.
The fucking name's David. No, fucking Maisie. These have got to be too little for me, shit. I'll probably triple the drag.
Oh, what about Darcel and his flat shoes?
What?
Darcel and his flat shoes.
Oh, yeah.
Do you want to hold me?
Who does sell?
The one that came from America.
Oh, that one? No, I don't think that. I'll have to put the green ones on it.
I have to say, you looked fabulous in the video with the American Queen. You know, the older one from the States? You look brilliant. It's a shame we had to see her arse, really.
Are you excited, darling, about today?
Well, what's got to happen?
We're going to do a show all together. It's nice, isn't it? All the family back together.
Like a cattle show.
Do you want a painkiller, love? I got some Neuromols.
Yes, please.
Would you like? I can only give you one because I've got a bad
My
back.
back's been bad.
Oh, fuck up. You just can't be left out, can you? You can suck her tablet before she swallows it.
I'm just saying, it's been bad.
You look lovely from behind there. That's probably how you used to do the show.
It was you, be like an eclipse.
Well, but boys and girls, without further ado, please put your hands together and make a lot of noise for one of mine. It kills me saying this. Is that my drink? Let me have one mouthful before I say this. One of my dearest friends, Dave Lynn. Thank you very much indeed.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I can't believe the three of us have been in that dressing room. If they don't book us for Loose Women, there's something really wrong. Maisie's in a... She threw a walking stick at me. She's lovely, 85 years old. And Jason's not that much younger than me, 50. And fatter. Maisie has been my friend for 30-odd years. And, you know, when she was young, she wasn't just pretty, she just wasn't pretty. No, we are dear friends. I worship the ground that's coming to her. Lately, my darling Maisie has not always that well, so I have to take her, well, one of us in the drag circuit has to take her to the doctor. The doctor said, I want a sperm sample, a stool sample, and a urine sample. Maisie said to me, what does he want? I said, your underwear. I want to talk about when I came out. I don't know why. At being 60, you kind of think, my God, how did you do that? The world was in black and white. There was no texts. You had to actually go and speak to your parents. So I had to go round. I thought, well, just do it. So I went around, and like a good Jewish woman, she was cooking. They always cook. So I just stood there and I just said, Mum, I'm gay. And she stopped stirring that chicken and mushroom pot noodle stew, took her spatula out and said, "Does that mean you take men's penises in your mouth?" And she hit me with the spatula and said, "Don't complain about my cooking again, you little bitch."
Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together. You've not seen the last of us today. Miss David. Anyway, boys and girls, the star of our afternoon, Miss MAISIE TROLLETTE. Thank you very much.
I'm nervous, and I don't know why, because there's so many new faces and so many old faces and so many new faces on old faces, because I mean, I'm going to do some of my, well, not all of my #1 hit records, but this one always, a show I always wanted to be in, and let's go for this. I shan't be dancing.
One single little sensation, every little step I used to take. One thrilling combination, every move that I'd make. One sigh and suddenly nobody else is gonna do. You know you'll never be lonely with you. No. In my presence, you can't forget the rest. For tonight we're all second best to none. Son, oh, son, give me your attention. Do I really have to mention? Tonight we are all one moment in your presence. I just forget the rest, because today we're second best to none. Son, come on, oh, son, give me your attention. Do I really have to mention? He's the, she's the, but tonight we are all
Oh, well, after last night, it's a miracle that I got a voice. Somehow they managed to get me so merry, I had no idea. No, I didn't even know that you drove me home, that you helped me get into bed and left at 9 this morning. And but I got so merry last night. I haven't been drinking, not lately, but I had far too many brandies last night. I think I had 4. Now, see those? Wonderful, aren't they gorgeous? But look what's underneath there, the fire to go out. They're pop, that's what you call pop socks, look at that. And not a vein showing, just fucking brandy, dear, after last night. Isn't that lovely?
Wasn't that lovely?
Well, that's lovely, yeah. Oh, isn't it nice to have youth put their hands on your shoulder?
I'm just checking I'm still in the wheel.
Yeah, no,
Okay, boys and girls, please welcome back on stage, Mr. David.
We're like 3 wise nuns. Ain't got none, never had none, not likely to get none.
Thanks for joining us. Unfortunately, that's all we've got time for today. But don't forget, you can donate to Silver Pride if you go to www.silverprideuk.com, where all donations go to LGBT plus groups.